pickups. I'm trying to catch up with my pickups videos. I am going to move on to the next week, about 2 weeks after vacation, which was a really big pickup week. There was a lot of big releases coming out that week, and I had to pick it up, and plus I found a few surprises. So let's show you what I got. First off, I got Avengers Endgame on 4K Blu-ray. This is the Target edition, which comes with a book. It is a fold-out digibook, kind of a digital package. It's not the best packaging, honestly, but it is not a little bit nicer than just a plain edition. I really do love that they give you a 40-page book here with this. Really nice, full of some steals and things like that. It opens up. It's really super sturdy, honestly. It opens up and shows you some production steals and things like that from throughout the entirety of Marvel's Infinity Saga, which was the first 22 films. And really, it's really nice to see all of this stuff in here. Really nice edition, just a few extra bucks more than the regular edition, and kind of worth it to me because I did get Infinity War with this version too, so they match up really well. Also, we need to talk about the picture quality on this one. 4K looks great, a lot better than what I saw it in theaters. My theaters kind of stinks, honestly, but really the lack of Dolby Vision and the Dolby Atmos track is just kind of barren. It's kind of becoming a common thread for Disney releases, and unfortunately this is another product of that. I know the big thing with Disney right now is that they're going to be releasing Dolby Atmos and Dolby Vision on their Disney Plus streaming service, so it looks like that's where you're going to have to go to get those kinds of upgrades, unfortunately. It looks like Disney's kind of pushing the physical side down and doing the least they can for the people that want to hold a physical copy of it, unfortunately. In my opinion, that kind of stinks, but it is what it is. Next up, I got Zhang Yimou's Shadow. Zhang Yimou directed Heroes and House of Flying Daggers, and he's really kind of an unconventional Wushu martial arts style filmmaker, and this is really a very unconventional style martial arts film. This is much more of a political drama, but honestly, it's very good. The martial arts action in it is amazing, but there's not a lot of it in it. It's more about the characters and the political machinations that are going on behind the scenes in the film. Definitely well worth checking out. There's great it's got a great color palette. It's really kind of washed out except for some flesh tones and blood and things like that. It really does give the cinematography a great look, in my opinion, and the 4K is excellent addition. Next up, I picked up a couple of trades from Books A Million. Books A Million seems to be pushing trades to the sides, and they're kind of getting rid of the larger amount that they had so that they can kind of push more toys and just little odd knickknacks and things like that, unfortunately. Even their book selection kind of stinks now. It's all kind of pushed towards one kind of thing, and that's just not really for me, unfortunately. But I did get some really good deals. These two I got for combined for less than $5. The first thing I got was the Phantom Menace trade paperback. I remember, honestly, picked this up more for the nostalgia of it, because I do remember picking up all 4 issues of the Phantom Menace before the movie even came out and going through the comics. So honestly, that should have been a red flag for me. I think I actually went and saw the movie before I sat down and read the comics, and that was probably the first thing I probably should have done, is flip through the comics to see, because I just remember that movie not really hitting with me very well. But this is more for nostalgia. I actually want to get all of the Star Wars books and actually in trade form. Be another thing to kind of let loose of some of the copies in my that are stacked up forever in the back room, unfortunately. I really did love the art in this book. I love the just the sense of design, and everything has always been really great anyways. But yeah, it's a really nice edition. I'm glad to have it, and I'm really glad to have it added to my collection. Next up, I picked up Batman Death Blow, After the Fire. I remember this coming out, and I remember being late on the first issue and could never find it anywhere. And I was living in more close to Raleigh at the time, so I had a really kind of a wide variety of comic shops to go to. and I just never could find it. But I'm really glad I did find it. Brian Azzarello and Lee Bermejo and Tim Bradstreet all together on this one book is amazing to me. And the art is just fantastic. Look at that. That just, not really grim, but gritty, streetwise Batman that you really, really love. And just really does play to Brian Azzarello's strengths as a writer, and definitely that art for Deathblow. I remember the Deathblow series kind of wasn't really my thing. I remember getting it because the first issue was drawn by Jim Lee, and he was trying this Frank Miller style, Frank Miller inspired artwork style, and it was really cool to look at, but the story just didn't do anything for me, even as a teenager. I was kind of more into Wildcats at the time, and I was buying up anything Jim Lee was doing, but for some reason that just didn't do anything for me. But this was a really good story. It's well worth finding if you can find it to pick it up. Lastly, we picked up comics. Got to make my weekly trip to the comic shop. Picked up Powers of 10 #2. This is really still kind of going on. This I'm following up with House of X #3. #2 actually, showing more about the future in this issue. Really the big thing going on in this series right here really was about showing kind of an ongoing collision between Nimrod and Apocalypse at this time, who Apocalypse is of course immortal, so he's around of course 100 years later with his horsemen, and they're showing really getting into the origins of what Nimrod and everything is going on, who Nimrod is and what he's doing in this comic is just still really good. Lots in this issue is text based, so there's a lot of backstory and a lot of explanation. It's still, you're kind of having to put feelers out to understand what's going on, but I have a feeling once this series is complete and you read it straight through, it's going to be something very special, because I'm definitely intrigued even with a little bit of confusion going on. Next up is The Flash #76. This is the follow-up to the Flash Year 1 arc, which ended last issue, which is really probably one of the best Flash stories I've read in years, honestly. Josh Williamson is doing such a great job with this series. He's such a guy that, like, a lot of the stuff he comes from, you would never think was really someone you would put on Flash, honestly, but he really works very well with this character, in my opinion. This is the start of a new arc to talk about the possible death of the Speed Force, which is really insane to think about if that happens. I'm sure there's going to be some kind of workaround around it, but he's just such a good writer for this character, and it really is such a good book. It still kind of has that feeling of the Rebirth vibe, which is really what I've really enjoyed as far as DC Comics goes for the past few years. But anyways, guys, this is my pickups for that week. I hope you really enjoy this, and if you do, give me a like and a subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.